Hey, welcome to the show that shares with you everything that you should do before saying I do. This is Before I Do. We are here to help you facilitate courageous conversations on relationship and dating. My name is Walter Jennings.
My name is Charmaine Jennings.
And we are your Couples Academy practitioners, and we thank you so much for joining us for tonight's episode.
Absolutely. And tonight, what is our episode?
So tonight, you all will notice I got my...
You got but I need to remind them first. I need to remind you that this show is meant to be interactive. So make sure that when we pose the question, the speak now or forever hold your peace question, that you weigh in. We want to know more about you. We want to hear your thoughts, your interests, your experiences, and just to get to know you a little bit better. And hopefully in this exchange, you're getting to know us a little bit better, and you will book us for a session and we'll get to know each other a little bit better.
A lot of hot topics and things that are floating around. And I don't know if some of you are like me, where some of these words and some of these buzzwords that are being used in the day and age, some of them you know, some of them you don't. And we're actually going to get into one very popular word, which is narcissism.
I mean, people are overly using this word in education, especially in elementary school. I love elementary school because when students overuse a word, what a teacher will do is they get these like McDonald's French fry things, and they call it fried words. And so these are words that scholars are no longer allowed to use. And then they have a whole like French fry, like little strips of words that they need to use to replace overusing the word.
Absolutely. So narcissism is a word now that is becoming a catch-all for someone that is overly confident, for someone that is arrogant, for if someone disagrees with our opinion in a very vehement way or demonstrative way, then we're quick to call them a narcissist. If someone is if we're in a relationship with someone and they don't necessarily agree with us or aren't allowing us to get our way, then we call them a narcissist. And so again, what we wanted to do was take the time tonight, and our topic is help. Am I in a relationship? Am I dating a narcissist? And so we wanted to break down the word exactly what a narcissist is, what are the red flags, what are some of the clinical signs and definitions when we talk about a narcissist, how you can identify if you are in a relationship and dating one, what are some of the things you need to bear in mind. And we are going to share with you, because I know some of you all are like, when do we need to walk away? A lot of y'all like, when do we walk away? It's not our responsibility to tell you when to walk away or to do away with your relationship, but it is our responsibility to make sure that you have all the information to have a good informed decision. So what we want to do is, again, we want to start with the definition of narcissism. So narcissism is defined as male clinic defines it as a condition in which people have an unreasonably high sense of their own importance. They need and seek too much attention and want people to admire them. People with this disorder, and it is considered a medical disorder, may lack the ability to understand or care about the feelings of others. But behind this mask of extreme confidence, they are not sure of their self-worth and are easily upset by the slightest criticism. So this condition causes many problems in the area of the narcissist as relates to their relationships, work, school, finances. Narcissists may be generally unhappy and disappointed when they're not given special favoritism or admiration that they believe that they deserve. They may find relationships troubling and unfulfilling, and other people may not enjoy being around them. Now, if you all are listening right now, by now you're probably already getting some people in your head like, yeah, so-and-so's a narcissist.
You got a whole list right here. You ready. You're
this
like,
person is this narcissist. Okay, this person is a narcissist.
You done audited your family. You done audited the people at work, so yeah.
So narcissism affects males more than females, and I know all the ladies right there. That's right.
Let me ring the bell a couple of times there.
Only 4.8% of the population, as far as the female population, are tested as narcissists, and as to 7.8 or 7.7% of males. So it is more prevalent in males rather than females.
I want to pause right there.
Yes.
Do you think, and of course, this is just our opinion, I'm asking your own opinion, the fact that 7.7% of males are most likely to be, are labeled as or having the disorder of narcissism over 4.8% females.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe that is largely contributed to the societal privilege that men are often given?
So I think it
that
can
contribute to that.
Absolutely. So I think it can be. So some of the factors that science believes contributes to narcissism, and the exact cause is actually unknown. But some of the causes that scientists believe contribute to narcissism are childhood trauma, also early relationships with parents. So this inflated sense of self that individuals are that's planted in them as children can lead to narcissism, and also it can be genetic. So certain families may be potentially predisposed to narcissism. And then combined with that, you have hypersensitivity to textures and noise and light in children, which again, you have that physical aspect, which is more environmental. And then also you have personality and temperament. So there are a couple of different factors as it relates to what could be the potential cause of narcissism. But to your point, what we see is that in society that is primarily geared towards patriarchy and towards male privilege, it is something that provides a conducive environment for narcissism to continue to grow, especially in men.
And I really just have to pause because, again, background being in education, I want to say this. Sometimes, and especially us as moms, right? Moms, the auntie, the niece, and I'm speaking to us as women, right? Or really just anyone with influence in our young people. It is so important, one, that we continue to nurture our children, nurture our youth, right? Because we definitely want to make sure that we are nurturing them, but nurturing them to a place where they're still able to consider other people, that they're still developing the strategies of how to have healthy relationships with other people, not being takers and consumers, but never givers, never supporters, never people who know how to serve, consider others. So as we're talking about this topic, when we run into someone that we believe has kind of a lot of items on this checklist, I just want to make sure that we ourselves are not groomers of the very things that we, will find ourselves struggling with. Are you a contributor to individuals in your life who might demonstrate some of these characteristics? We ready to go for our first Speak Now question?
Well, actually, there's another point that we wanted to make sure to point out. And when it comes to narcissisms, there is this perception that narcissists are not aware of that they are narcissists. That's true. Part of the question is, are narcissists aware that they are narcissists? So
it's
when it comes to
reality.
Exactly. So when it comes to narcissism, as it relates to the measurements, narcissists do measure themselves as it relates to being more intelligent, more physically attractive, more likable, funnier than other people. However, interestingly enough, they also rate themselves higher on the levels that are the areas that are perceived as negative. So they rate themselves as more power oriented. They rate themselves as more impulsive, more arrogant, and more prone to exaggerate their abilities. And so, in other words, narcissists are aware that they are narcissists in the way that they grade themselves. Now, I
find that interesting because I don't know, when was the last time you met somebody who's a narcissist who admitted being one?
Now, here's the thing. Now, as we get into the conversation tonight, and this is an important point, part of it is the way that the narcissism reconciles these things. So whereas the way other people experience them as being arrogant, they see themselves as being assertive. The way that other people may see them as being power hungry or power oriented, they're more geared towards wanting to have control so that they can be in a better position to influence the outcome. So it really depends on the perspective and the way that the narcissist is really aligns themselves with those qualities. And we are going to get into that, which actually gets into our first Speak Now question of the night, which is, for those of you that are tuned in and joining us, be sure to jump in the chat and let us know your thoughts. Have you ever dated a narcissist? Now, we've shared the definition. We've talked a little bit about some of the factors when it comes to narcissism. So have you ever dated someone that was a narcissist, or someone that you thought was a narcissist? What were some of the signs or behaviors that you observed that made you believe that they were a narcissist? So, Charmaine, have you ever interacted, or I'm not sure if you dated anyone that you might have thought was a narcissist?
I know that I don't use that word, freely. So, but, definitely looking at the definition now, I didn't know that those were some of the signs that I was seeing and demonstrated, but absolutely. Do I think I was dating a narcissist that I have in the past? Yes. One thing though, I do have a what I call kind of an arrogant radar, arrogance. And so that is a big, big turnoff for me. Someone who comes off as, arrogant. They're always talking about themselves. They're always, not really interested in acknowledging the social setting in the room, and not interested in learning about others, but just, enhancing themselves in the eyes of others. And so, yeah, I've actually have dated a person who I think fits along the line of a narcissist, and it did not last long because we didn't really get past. We couldn't have any conversation, and for me, that's everything, because all of the conversations was about them. They had no They had no interest in me. They tend to stay in the now. And everything was about their goals and where they were trying to go. And if I was worthy enough, right? If I qualified enough to be, on the path of where they were trying to go. And so it almost felt like I was auditioning, and I'm not auditioning. So, it was one of those things where at the time, I don't think I would have labeled that person a narcissist, but there were definitely a lot of strong characteristics that pointed to this person probably values more of a relationship with power and success than they ever would me.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to take a quick commercial break. Once again, our first Speak Now question of the night is, have you ever been in a relationship with a narcissist or someone you thought was a narcissist? What were some of the signs and signals that helped you to get to that point? We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with more Before I Do. Welcome back to Before I Do, where our topic tonight is help. Am I dating a narcissist? And we pose our Speak Now or Forever Hold Your Peace question, which is, have you ever believed that you've dated a narcissist? And if so, what was your experience? All right. Did that relationship have any kind of longevity, et cetera, et cetera? And we have our one of our fans, Laquita. Thank you for always tuning in. She says, I'm not sure. I don't think so. All right. And that's great. Okay. We're glad that you have never encountered an individual like this, because sometimes it can really drain you, depending on your personality type, depending on if you're a very nurturing person. When you're with an individual like that, it can be a very trying relationship, especially if they're not even aware of how you're experiencing them. And so we're definitely wanting to get into the help. Am I dating a narcissist? We want to make sure that you walk away, first of all, that you're aware of some of the warning signs. There are some red flags. Okay. So get your notebooks out, get ready, because we want to make sure you know what are the red flags of if you are dating a narcissist. And according to Psychology Today, number one, all right, red flag number one, does this person monopolize conversation and centers the conversation on themselves? And that's exactly what I experienced. An individual who, it does not matter, you could be talking about a thumbtack, and somehow that thumbtack is directly related to their life, their purpose, and the path of success that they're on. So the narcissist loves to talk about themselves and often doesn't give you a chance to take a part in a two-way conversation. They're not interested
interested in conversing with you. They're interested in information sharing regarding often, information about themselves. And so sometimes you'll struggle to have your views and your feelings even heard. And when you do get a word in, a lot of times it's not in agreement with a narcissist. And so your comments are most likely to be corrected, dismissed, or even ignored.
All right. So number 2 is narcissists are known to interrupt conversation. So while a lot of us have to deal with the habit of poor communication, of interrupting people, we're excited about what we want to say and jumping the gun. The narcissist interrupts and quickly switches the focus back to themselves. So as Charmaine mentioned, it's this idea of hijacking the conversation and redirecting it back on themselves. And lastly, Charmaine, just as you mentioned, which was, I thought your example was spot on, they show little genuine interest in the partner or the person that they are interacted with.
Absolutely. Tip number 3, a red flag number 3 is chronic rule breaker. So a narcissist enjoys getting away with violating rules and social norms, such as cutting in line, chronic under tipping, right? And some were over tipped to show off, stealing office supplies, breaking multiple appointments, or disobeying traffic laws. So there's a little of oppositional defiance there. And there's a little, there's a little energy that's released, right? There's a release that they get from defying and breaking rules.
And part of being a chronic rule breaker actually goes hand in hand with number 4, which is violating boundaries. And so breaking the rules is actually a part of violating boundaries. And so narcissists have shown to have a disregard for other people's thoughts and feelings, their possessions, and their physical space. They frequently overstep and they use others without consideration or sensitivity. They will borrow items, they will borrow money without returning it. They will break promises and obligations repeatedly, and they will show little remorse. And then, unfortunately, they will then victim blame for the lack of respect of the other person.
And you know what? And so you have to be careful, because when you do encounter these individuals, if you are not strong and set in your own boundaries, if you are not on watch and notice the small violations of your boundaries, before you know it, it'll get big. The violations will get larger and larger and larger. All right. Number 5 talks about a narcissist projects a false image. So many narcissists like to do things to impress others. So this is actually a vulnerability. This is a weakness. However, it is a weakness that a narcissist will exploit. So they like to impress others by making themselves look good on the outside, externally, right? This trophy complex. So they have to have the nice woman on their arm. They have to have the nice car, the different things that elevate them in society. They exhibit themselves physically, romantically, sexually, socially, religiously, financially, materially, professionally, all the leads, right? Academically and culturally. So they want to be the guru of all of these arenas. And so, unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, listen close, listen close. If you hear nothing else, it says the narcissist uses people. They will use you. This could be your family member. They will use you. This could be your child. They will use you. Objects, they will use status or accomplishments to represent the self, sustaining for the perceived and adequate real self, meaning anything that they have to do to elevate themselves.
All right. So number 6 is that, and obviously all of this leads up, and you're probably seeing how this all fits together. And so the narcissist feels entitled. So they have this sense of entitlement, and they often expect preferential treatment from others. They expect other people to cater to their needs, often instantly. So they have this idea that when you meet them, that you should just bow down and give them everything and respect and worship them for who they are, without even necessarily knowing who they are.
And this goes back to the previous one, number 5. This is why they will use you. They will, by any means necessary, because it goes back to, it's really not yours. Well, mama, that $200 don't really belong to you.
Right.
You my mama. So, you're supposed to help me.
Absolutely. And in the mindset of the narcissist, the world revolves around them. Yes. So everything is about their convenience. Everything is about what it is that they deserve, even the things that they haven't even earned.
Yes, and number 7, they can be charming yet deceitful. And so again, no one ever comes off as 100%, just this person who's harsh and evil and hard to get along with. A narcissist can be very charismatic, very laid back, but very persuasive. So it's really interesting how they can shapeshift, and so it's really important for you to know that there's just not one look, feel, or sound of this individual. They can be very engaging and sociable, charming, and as long as you're fulfilling what they desire and giving them all of your attention, as long as you are feeding the beast, you are feeding, then the monster won't have to come out, as long as they're gaining what the desired outcome.
Absolutely, as long as they are getting what they want from you. And so with that, narcissists have an inflated sense of importance. They have this exaggerated sense of believing that others cannot live or survive without their contributions. In their eyes, you need me, I don't need you.
Wow.
And so just this whole egomaniacal mindset and frame that, again, the world revolves around them.
Yes. And so number 9, negative emotions and energy. And so you have to be aware of that. And so it says many narcissists enjoy spreading and arousing negative emotions. So you know how there's always that. I love to say this to educators and working with training educators. And I say, we all can, if you old school hip hop, it's like, don't push me because I'm close to the
edge.
That's right. See, I get quiet and everybody knows about being pushed and being close to the edge. And so again, many narcissists are very people smart. All right. So they know how to arouse that negative emotion inside of you to gain attention, to gain that sense of feeling of power. And so you are in control of your responses, ladies and gentlemen. So when you engage with an individual like this, if you're dating someone who has this, you don't want to feed the beast. You don't want to give them power and to say, oh, this person made me mad. They made me just want to hit them. Whatever you do, don't do it, because you're just really fueling the reaction and the response that they want to begin with.
And lastly, narcissists can be manipulative and controlling. They will often use other people as an extension and a substitute for the inadequacies within themselves. They make decisions for other people that suit their own needs, and they may use their romantic partner, their children, their friends, their colleagues to meet unreasonable self-serving needs, unfulfilled dreams in order to cover up their self-perceived inadequacies and their flaws. So there are tons of different signs that we want to be mindful of when it comes to the narcissist, and being really sensitive when it comes to some of the things that we're seeing and not ignoring them.
And so we asked you guys to tune in. Have you ever dated a narcissist? So we gave you the red flags. Any of these signs, any of these characteristics or conditions, have they ever shown up in your relationships, whether it's with family members, romantic relationships, or even coworkers and colleagues?
All right, I believe it's pronounced Treyansha. I apologize if I mispronounce your name. Treyansha says, my father is a narcissist and I tend to attract males that are narcissists. Now, Treyansha, this is not a surprise. And part of the reason why is because if your father is a narcissist, you will be drawn to exactly what you are used to. So you're going to have to be very careful, and it is going to take some reprogramming on your side to ensure that you are not allowing yourself to be drawn to these individuals that you know may not necessarily be healthy for you.
Absolutely. And a good strategy that in working with our clients, a good strategy, you can't give all the strategies away. One thing I want to challenge you to do in your journal, I want you to draw a line down the center of the page. On the right side of that, when it comes to the relationship with your father, we want you to put down when your relationship is in a blissful state, it's a pleasant state, you're able to enjoy your father, he's able to enjoy you. What are those things? What is that aspect of the relationship? On the right side of that chart, we want you to write down, okay, the non-attractive things about the relationships, the non-examples, the things that just drive you crazy, that it's intolerable for me to engage with you. And it's important to separate the two, because when you think about what you're drawn to in the relationships and things like that, a lot of times we will tolerate the dysfunction, the 80% dysfunction, because we're addicted to the 20% function. And so I want you to make a list of those things that are working well in the relationship, the list of the things that are dysfunctional, and you're like, you know what, I can't continue to, this is not healthy for me to continue to engage in this. And I really want to, and I want you to start weighing in your interactions and like, wow, what percentage of the relationship am I getting this? What percentage am I experiencing this? And what is my level of resilience? What is it that is driving me to continue to still support? It could just be your love. This is your father, right? It could be that, but it's very important to know, because it is going to be that same level or mode of resilience that you use in relationships to convince yourself to stay in that relationship.
Now, she actually brings up a really good point, and you alluded to this earlier, and so we've actually arrived at it. So, and this actually is our Speak Now question number 2, because if you all are hearing some of these things when it comes to the characteristics of narcissists, many people argue that several of the qualities attributed to narcissism, a strong sense of self, determination, conviction and beliefs, ambition, and the desire to work hard, resilience, a desire to be in control, confidence, seeking out challenges, are also closely associated with the alpha designation, which is another contemporary topic that we hear about. This whole idea of the alpha male and the alpha female and type A personalities. So the question then becomes, and especially Trey and Nisha with yours, how do you determine what is a healthy balance in your relationship? And the activity and the exercise that Charmaine just mentioned is a really great way to help reconcile and figure out exactly what that balance is going to be for you.
Absolutely. So, and you know, and it really helps you to really define those things, the very things that you admire about the relationship. Oh, I really admire my father's confidence, or I'm admired that he's determined, like he, you know, he's determined in this area. And you know, what's the spectrum for you on determination and just being straight stubborn? Right. Or determined or rebellious. Right. And so it's important for us all to define those words for ourselves. What does it look, feel, and sound like? And what is drawing you to this person, especially if 70, 60, 80% of your interactions with them, if they're dysfunctional, there's an addiction somewhere. What is drawing you back to those interactions with them, you know, where there's this dysfunction? The function has to be a reward. It has to be fueling and driving those interactions. And some people says, well, they're my family member. It's not like I can you just don't divorce your family member. So now what? But the boundaries. Will you allow them to control your boundaries? Will you allow them to regularly violate your boundaries with no regard or no sense of remorse? And so, no, you don't divorce the person, but you absolutely have to be healthy in your interactions. You don't want to operate in more dysfunction than function.
You're tuned into Before I Do. We're talking about narcissism tonight. We are going to take a really quick commercial break. Once again, our Speak Now question of the night number 2 is the difference between narcissism and the alpha mentality. Where do you draw the line when it comes to that confidence and how it's welled? And we'll talk about that more when we come back with more Before I Do. Welcome back, everyone, to Before I Do. Tonight, we're talking about help. Am I dating a narcissist?
We hope you're not. We really hope
you're not. But we also hope that you are getting some great information and some insight into being able to recognize the signs of a narcissist.
Yes.
And now we're actually going to share with you some of the tips and the strategies as it relates to dealing with a narcissist or an individual that may have narcissist traits.
Absolutely.
Because again, as we just mentioned, some of those qualities can be attributed to what many people deem as a part of that type A or that alpha mentality. And so I know that, for example, with you mentioned that when it comes to the arrogance, but you know, there's a difference between arrogance and confidence. You obviously don't want a man that you can just run over and is going to just go along with everything that you say and allow them to be a doormat. So there has to be a balance there, correct?
Yes. And I do want to go back because again, there's some married couples right now. And if you're watching and you're listening to the show and you're married and you're like, forget about help. Am I dating a narcissist? Am I married to a narcissist? Right. And so now you got a contract and a whole family. You got a whole situation because now we have a life story commitment. And now I'm committed to the narcissist I'm possibly married to. Right. And so all of these tips and strategies will definitely support you, whether you're dating or whether you're married. But I will tell you, sometimes these things can stir up and turn up because of that childhood trauma, or sometimes there could be a major life crisis that hits. And a lot of times when you feel like your world is out of control, you hold on and you grab onto control, but it is in fact a disorder. It is a disorder. And and so definitely, you know, if you find yourself it being unbearable, you want to get some support.
So if you are in a relationship, whether it's a marriage or you're dating a narcissist, we do have a few tips and strategies for you to potentially employ to help you. The first one is to maintain your boundaries. Maintaining strong boundaries is important to someone that is dealing with narcissism. Boundaries convey your beliefs and your values. So again, boundaries, they allow you to communicate your beliefs and your values, and they are in alignment with that. And in a relationship with a narcissist, boundaries send a message that you are not falling for their antics, that you're not just going to go along with everything that they're doing. And that comes from Mara Meglin, who is a social worker who has her own practices. She says that their antics may include centering the relationship around themselves and constantly needing external validation. So be prepared to follow through on any stated consequences of boundary crossing. That is so important that you honor your word when you communicate what the consequences are for crossing and violating those boundaries. And not following through may indicate to your partner that you don't have what it takes in order to take, or they don't have to take you seriously as it relates to what you say your boundaries are.
You know, one of Maya Angelou's quotes is, Jack, when people show you who they are, believe them. I love that quote because it is so true. And we have to start building these skills even from, especially when we have our tweens and then into our teens. I can remember a situation with our oldest daughter where she's so sweet and so nice and giving to her friends. And to me, it was just too much. And so number 2 talks about clearly stating your expectations. And so I would ask her the question, you know, if people had to fill out a friendship application to be your friend, what would be the expectations, right? What would be in bounds and what would be out of bounds? And so, you know, she really struggled sometimes to really outline that because she would just jump in, you know, the deep end of the pool in her friendships and relationships. And it would be things like on her birthday, her friends want to do what they want to do. And she would like pretty much, you know, ignore the things that brought her joy for the sake of fellowshipping with her friends on her birthday. And I said, no, this is your day. They should be open and interested in exploring the things you like to do if they're truly invested in getting to know you. So number 2 talks about clearly stating your expectations. So tell your partner, if you're married, if you're dating, be clear, be concise, and be succinct, and telling them your expectations and the potential consequences if they are not met. This is not about ultimatums, but this is about just speaking truth. If this occurs, then this is what I'm going to choose to do on my end to honor myself. If you won't honor me in this, in the things that I set are my boundaries and my expectations, then this is what I'm going to do to honor myself. And you may possibly, you know, You may possibly get an exit interview in the sense that, you know what, we will no longer interact or engage in this way moving forward.
All right. Now, number 3 is be patient. Now, when it comes to narcissism or any challenge, it is a mental and behavioral health condition. So you want to make sure in every relationship that your partner is doing the work on themselves. Mm-hmm. And this isn't just related to narcissism, but if you observe a challenge with your partner, watch how they address it and if they are willing to hear and see themselves. That is a really important part of really allowing yourself to test the person that you're interested in, if they have the potential for a long-term relationship. Mm-hmm. Are they willing to do the work on themselves and to see themselves and to trust you enough to ensure that your feedback is something that is needed in order for them to grow and really take it to heart?
Yes. All right. Number 4 says guard your individuality.
Yes.
This is really important because remember, the narcissist's social status is everything. So especially if you're a woman, you want to be very careful. Those subtle hints about your weight and how you look in that dress and, oh, is that what you're wearing? Is that how you're going to wear your hair? Oh, you starting to get a little, you're starting to get a little fluffy, or you're starting to be a little, you're flapping and flabby and all that kind of. The little small remarks are very important. You want to make sure you guard your individuality, making sure that you're not becoming a chameleon to accommodate that person's likes, preferences, and or criticisms. Again, guard yourself from those things. Let them know that's unacceptable. Let her know that is unacceptable. So it's just not a woman thing or male thing. On both sides, you want to make sure that you have those and that you continue to be yourself.
Yeah, and the other part of that, I know that's something that you speak a lot about, especially for women in relationships. We know that traditionally women will totally abandon their dreams and their hopes for individuality for their role as a wife and a mother, and forsake their role as a woman. And so it's important to maintain that individuality, especially with a narcissist, because part of their power in the control and the manipulation is for you to become so engulfed and wrapped into their needs, into who they are, that you will totally forsake yourself. Absolutely. So it's very important that you continue to pursue your individuality and to grow and cultivate relationships that have nothing to do with your individual relationship with your narcissist partner. Now, number 5, you understand that your partner, your narcissist actions are not a reflection of you. Can you ring the bell that for me, please? Now, this is important because when we're in a relationship, it is very easy for us to internalize our partner's behavior as a result of who we are and what we are or are not doing.
So let me pause you right there. So you're saying it's not about you.
It's not about you.
It's not about you.
Absolutely.
So don't make it about you.
Absolutely. So, and if it's about you, then it's about you. In other words, own what is yours, but release what is not yours.
Absolutely.
Certain things are a part of your partner's personality, is part of who they are, and certain things have and those things you have absolutely nothing to do with. That is who they were when they came into the relationship. That doesn't mean that you don't have a certain level and measure of influence on them, but what it does mean is that you want to be careful that you are not owning and taking responsibilities for the things that are not yours and acquiescing work that actually belongs to your partner.
All right. This is another word. Besides narcissist, I've heard this next word so much, and the word is number 6. Recognize when you're being gaslit. All right. And gaslighting is when a person manipulates you into not trusting your own judgments and makes you question your own reality. So you're like, you know what? Wow, the sky is blue and it's so beautiful. And you're like, but is the sky blue? Really? Are you sure? I think you need to go get checked. Or you know what? Every time we have a conversation, you cry. I think you're this or you're that, or you need to go see a therapist, or really minimizing a person's feelings, denying when a person really causes want to deny what you know to be true, questioning your mental health, isolating you from your friends and families. These are all signs of someone who is gaslighting you.
Absolutely. And we hear the term gaslighting in the a lot when we talk about race relations and workplace relations and interactions, and this whole idea of individuals marginalizing the experiences of others because they have a different perspective, and pretty much talking them out of what they know to be their reality. So number 7, and this is actually again it speaks to the resilience of maintaining your individuality and not being gaslit. Preserve your self-esteem. So though a relationship with a narcissist often starts out romantic, once they see your flaws, things can change. So after you commit to the relationship, narcissists may start to lose interest and become less attentive. Now, when you're confronted with something that is meant to make them feel shame, a narcissist may resort to rage. So when you confront a narcissist about their behavior, they may turn to anger. So you have to be mindful of that. And this is why criticizing them can wound their self-esteem, and ultimately your self-esteem becomes the target. So they become hostile towards you, and they will begin to seek to devalue you. And so it's important that you protect your self-esteem and you do what you have to do in order to make sure that you're cultivating your individuality.
All right, we have a comment, and definitely we want to look at this comment. We have a comment from David, and so we definitely want to kind of share that. It says gaslighting can be hard to detect. You are absolutely right, especially someone who was they have finessed their craft. They are people smart. Remember, narcissists are high intellect. They're high intellects, so they're very smart, right? And so a narcissist might be able to watch you from across the room at a party or in a club or in a professional environment. They can watch your mannerisms. They can see little small signs of insecurities, and they can exploit them. So you're right. Sometimes gaslighting is very hard to detect, especially when you have someone who is very, I want to say, their wordplay, they're a lyricist, like they're very good with words. And so I know there's been times where I'm like, wait a minute, did that person just insult me? Like, and in real time, I was like, wait a minute, they just criticized me.
So I think
it didn't even sink in until like 10 minutes later, and I just realized, wow, that person was rude. They just insulted me.
So I think for me, one of the tests that I think is important when it comes to identifying gaslighting is this person trying to change my perspective, or are they trying to broaden my perspective?
Exactly.
Because oftentimes individuals who are gaslighting, what they're seeking to do is actually change your perspective.
Persuasive.
Exactly. They are trying to persuade you not to believe what you believe, or to invalidate your experience. Newsflash, nobody can invalidate your experience. No matter what information they know, no matter how many books that they've read, your experience is your experience. Now, what they can do is, again, help you broaden and provide a different perspective to your experience, or a different angle from what it is that you may know. But at no time, no one should be trying to change your perspective about what it is that you know.
Yeah, in the clinical world, we talk about that right, wrong thinking. It's very, you have to stay right, wrong thinking, because it will really limit possibility, and you'll find yourself constantly getting conflicts with others and persuading and arguing, because there has to be a right and there clearly has to be a wrong. And that type of thinking will always put you at odds when you're engaging with other individuals. Final and last tip, number 8, don't internalize blame. So narcissists often lack object constancy. So, and what that means is that they aren't able to see the good aspects of your relationship when they're blinded by anger. So when a narcissist is in that anger phase, there is no convincing them of the good. Right now, it all seems bad. The world is coming crashing down to an end, and you are the problem. They clearly are not the problem, you are. So they tend to project their own shortcomings onto those around them, especially the people closest to them. They become a target. Everyone, family, friends, romantic relationships, everyone becomes pretty much the problem, the face of their problems. They tend to deflect responsibility, never accepting responsibility. That is a big sign when we're in relationships and people cannot own their errors. They can't own their role in certain situations. There's a big challenge with that in the social development. And so sometimes that can cause a big wedge in relationships in general. So even if you're dating a narcissist, when you're in a relationship, someone who deflects all the time, it's like, well, Charmaine, you said that you were gonna, move the car, you were gonna fill it up, you were gonna take it to get service, and I says, well, what about you? You didn't cook last night, okay, and you didn't clean the bathroom, and you didn't do. See, that's deflecting. A problem was brought to my attention that I wasn't a person of my word, and I choose to deflect. I choose to say, well, what about your faults? What about your inconsistencies? But no, we never solved my issue. I never owned the fact that you're right. I wasn't a person of my word. I said I would do it. I didn't do it. I apologize. Moving forward, I'm going to work on being more consistent. If I say something, I'm going to work on trying to make sure I do what it is that I say.
Absolutely. So when it comes to narcissism, experts say that there are some signs that you should leave a relationship with a narcissist. So if you are questioning whether you want to stay in the relationship at all, if your partner regularly gaslights you, if you often feel blame for your partner's problems without them taking responsibility for any of them, just like Charmaine just mentioned, if you feel put down and underappreciated,
Yes.
if you're emotionally disconnected
and abused,
if you have low self-esteem, we're getting to it.
Yep.
If you have low self-esteem due to the relationship, and if your partner is emotionally, financially, sexually, or physically abusive, it is time to walk away. And at the very least, it is time to give us a call here at the Couples Academy so that we can partner with you and your partner in hopefully helping them to see themselves. And we will be honest with you, certain time, not everybody is designed to be together. Not everybody is designed. Our goal and responsibility is to help you all get to the core and the center of your issues. And to see if you can work through them. But again, you want to make sure that you are in a relationship with a person that is willing to see themselves and someone that is willing to grow.
Remember, you have to be the leader of your happiness. Marriage, romantic relationships is not a cure or a way for you to default responsibility for your happiness. And so, again, the relationship with yourself is very important. What you bring into a relationship, it starts the status of where that relationship is. So when you're happy, you're healed, you're healthy, you can enter into a relationship. And then when that person is happy, healed as well, it's a strong, happy, healed relationship.
Absolutely. So I think we got a couple of comments in here. So Kalinda says, love the way you articulated that solution, Queen, accountability and deflection. And it's so easy to deflect and not be accountable. Absolutely.
Yes.
Once again, you want to be certain that you are in a relationship with an individual that is able to accept and see themselves, because part of saying I love you is being willing to listen to you, even if it's about me. Yes. Even if there are things that I don't want to hear about myself. Part of showing you that I value the relationship, that you mean something to me, is the fact that I'm willing to take a look at myself and to reflect. And also it shows you my willingness to grow.
Good tip too, that is when you have someone that is really tough for them to receive feedback. Oh, we always tell our clients, start with this. So, we're on the same team. We are on the same team. And it says, but I want to share with you how I experienced you in the situation. Right. And so this is me sharing with you how I'm experiencing you in this situation or in this moment. Right. It doesn't mean it always happens. We don't use absolute words, but definitely reminding them we're on the same team. There's no need to fight. There's no need to argue, because again, when we're arguing and fighting each other, we are not fighting the problem together. And so we always want to build that muscle and the strategy of how do we fight the problems together, not fighting with each other, right? And then he's becoming the problem and I'm becoming the problem. We're both distracted, and we don't want you to be that couple that's been together 20 years. You haven't solved one problem in your relationship because he's still the problem in your eyes and she's still the problem in your eyes, and nothing's ever getting fixed. And so we want you to be happy. We want you to be healthy. And we want you to definitely have a strong relationship.
If you're dating or in a relationship considering marriage, be sure to reach out to us at the Couples Academy. We would love to partner with you, speak with you to make sure that you have the tools and the strategies necessary to maintain and to grow and cultivate a strong relationship. Thank you all for tuning into Before I Do. My name is Walter Jennings.
My name is Charmaine Jennings.
Like, share, and subscribe at couplesacademy.org. And we will see you all at the same time next week. In the meantime, good night, everybody.
Good night.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.